Hey everybody, it's QuickyBaby and welcome back to World of Tanks. It's been a couple of weeks now since I made my video about the IS-3A, giving you a full review of the tank and pretty much condemning the fact that Wargaming have buffed it just before they make it an exclusive inside the loot crates, and effectively the only way to get it is to gamble inside World of Tanks. And I wanted to do a follow-up video to show you just how many more IS-3A's are on the European server. So in my video a couple of weeks ago, you'll notice that using the QBWOT Life website, that at that point in the previous 3 years of the IS-3A release, 30,007 players had played the IS-3A. And let's take a look to see what that number is up to now. Wow, it's up to 84,706, which strongly suggests that there are now 55,000 extra IS-3A players inside the matchmaker. And it also dawned on me while making this video that if there are 55,000 new IS-3A's inside the game just on the European server, and the chances of getting one of the tanks is 1 in 100, that means that Wargaming have sold 5.5 million loot boxes in the last 2 weeks alone. One thing that's terrifying about this figure as well is there are less than 1 million active players on the European server in the last few weeks, which means that on average we have bought 6 or 7 loot boxes each, which is an absolute staggering figure when you think about it. And it's no wonder that companies keep pushing these things upon us. Now with the introduction out of the way, let's get on with the show, and that is that we're going to be checking out Hell's Revenge playing in his IS-3A. Now, not sure if Hell's Revenge has always had this tank or whether he managed to, he's been adding to those 5.5 million loot box totals, but then again, looks like Hell's Revenge is actually from the North American server, and I literally only calculated it from the EU server, which is absolutely preposterous. But already, I'd say probably about 6 million euros made for Wargaming on the European server just from those loot boxes. Absolutely crazy numbers. Alright, so the IS-3A is going to be able to push in here in a tier 8 and a tier 7 matchup. And if you haven't watched my video already about the IS-3A, long story short, it's an IS-3 that has APCR as standard, so it has better shell velocity, has heat as premium rounds, which are very nice for engaging long-range tanks. It's even got 270 pen, but bad against spaced armor. And the vehicle is, to all intents and purposes, the same, it just has much worse mobility than the IS-3. And the crazy thing about this vehicle, and the reason why it's madly OP, is it's not really because it can stack up 3 shells in its autoloader. There are other tier 8 heavy tanks, like the Samoa SM, that can be able to do that. It's the fact that once the vehicle has fully unloaded, that it is now more dangerous than when it is fully loaded. If you know from the Italian auto-reloaders in the game, the deeper you go into the magazine, the longer your reload gets, and that makes you vulnerable. However, as you can see, for every shell that gets loaded inside this tank, we can see that Hell's Revenge's reload is getting better and better, and the final shell loads just as quickly as it would do in the standard IS-3. Well, obviously when you've unloaded, the more shells that you have in the tank, the longer the reload gets in the IS-3A. Bit bizarre, so it's this. That's why people are calling it an inverse auto reloader. Alright, so with that 50 TP on the enemy team, making a terrible play at the beginning of the game. Well, not really terrible, he kind of just got caught out. You just don't expect a vehicle like this to be able to pick you apart so quickly, as of yet. I wonder if people are starting to get wise to them on the server. Oh, well, it doesn't look like the defender is. Looks like he's getting blocked by the AMX behind him. 2 shells in, 3 shells in. That is 1,146 damage dealt to a tier 8 heavy tank. Sure, the defender made a bit of a misplay by giving his inner tracks, and also he obviously got blocked a little bit by his teammates behind him, but the raw power of this vehicle, like, why does it need an autoloader? Why couldn't it have just been a premium version of the IS-3? Well, I think we know that reason. Wargaming sold 30,000 of these in the first 2 or 3 years of its release, and then suddenly they give it an auto reloader, and within 2 weeks people have been gambling on a tank to be able to get it. Anyway, let's not focus on that. Let's just focus on the tank, because what I want to get from this video is, firstly, I want to let you know just how many of them have been sold and how many loot boxes I think have been sold so far in the first couple of weeks, but also just to really reiterate this IS-3A and just look what it's going to be capable of doing. This damage so far this game, it's not outrageous, it's not crazy, it's not like a WTRF 100, for example, and even a Samoa SM could have been able to do this on a ridgeline. Hell, you just saw me in one of my recent videos playing the Emil, and I was able to do more than this in the Emil in the first few minutes of the game. But I think it's the fact that the Emil's DPM is actually less than this premium vehicle. The Emil has incredibly weak hull armor compared to this vehicle. It also doesn't have the side turret armor that this tank has. And the fact that this thing reloads faster with an auto reloader, the more shells that it fires, it's just preposterous. Alright, so Hell's Revenge quite rightly falls back. Doesn't look like his team has been playing quite as well as he has. And he's going to go and dig in on a position here. He's got 4 APCR shells left and 13 heat rounds. And he can't really worry about the IS and the Scorpion behind him. Oh, terrible shot there. Bad marksmanship. No excuses there, Hell's Revenge. I'd be telling myself off for one of those, and so I've got to tell you off too, bud. But the subsequent 2 shells were not bad at all, right? And that's the crazy thing about this tank. You make a mistake, you have a bad shot, oh well, just put 2 extra rounds in. And he actually comes out on top of that. He took, on average, a 390 shell from the IS-3, and he put 1 back into the IS-3 and an additional 1 into the T-29. And the kind of trading that this vehicle can do is just absolutely mental. Alright, so Hell's Revenge finally spots an error that he was making, reloading a single APCR shell there, and instead decides to reload heat. One thing that, when I've played this vehicle, that I've really kind of enjoyed about this inverse auto reloader is that when you reload heat or high explosive rounds, because you're reloading them one by one, it doesn't feel nearly so punishing to change the ammunition type. Inside my Progetto 65, for example, unless I've fired out all of my rounds, it feels like such a disadvantage to reload to heat, or alternatively to reload to HESH. Alright, so Hell's Revenge starting to make some really bad trades here, and it looks like the IS-3 on the enemy team is playing pretty well. Hell's Revenge is going to have to do something because he's slowly starting to lose the middle part of the map and the upper part of the map as well. But maybe he just feels that eventually, once he's got fully loaded, that he might be able to press the IS-3, or alternatively just get some good shots in. Alright, so heat rounds once again into the tracks. The IS-3 on the enemy team fires a high explosive round, and Hell's Revenge puts one through the upper plate there of the IS-3 and proceeds to go and reload again. Why does it feel that the IS-3A is always in the control of this situation? Just because of that, the auto-reloading mechanics. What's the best thing for the enemy team to do right now? Well, the T-29 on the enemy team has actually gone all the way around and flanked in that time, and the IS-3 hasn't pushed. The T-29, I guess, thinking that he'd be able to get an ambush shot off there, didn't really work out. And while I think that was a little bit fortunate that the heat round, I guess, flew into a weak part of the T-29 turret, or alternatively into the hull of the tank, all's well that ends well. Alright, so Hell's Revenge actually fires here, and he's probably going to reload this shell faster than if he'd waited to reload the second shell. Bizarre concept that, right? Just a better IS-3 in this scenario, really. And there you go, there you have it. A dual one against the IS-3, even with a T-29 supporting. And enough armor to be able to ricochet the standard rounds from the enemy IS-3, but considering that Hell's Revenge has run out of standard rounds and now has forced to fire heat, that definitely gives you an advantage in a brawling situation. Okay, so 4,800 damage and 823 spotting dealt to the enemy team here, but there are 6 tanks left on the enemy team, or should I say 3 tanks and 3 self-propelled guns, and there's only one of Hell's Revenge with a Crusader SP. Goodbye, E25. Yeah, that's... See, if it had been a standard IS-3, the standard IS-3 would have probably been picked apart by the E25 there. Not this tank. This tank has got the autoloader to be able to go after the tank. And this is an interesting moment of the game here. The P-43 clearly going up into the bushes. And so Hell's Revenge, even with a low amount of ammunition left, is going to chance it. Wow, that is a ballsy play. I would not have probably done that. But a great kill on the P-43, and that secures one of the flanks. Now, this vehicle, a lot like the regular IS-3, has 350 hit points. Sorry, not 350 hit points. Wow, if it did, wow, this would be a different kind of story. This video would have never been made, and we wouldn't have seen so many loot boxes sold in the last couple of weeks. No, this vehicle has 350 meters view range, and what that means is that you're actually quite vulnerable at long range. And so it's a great bit of marksmanship there that Hell's Revenge managed to shut down the P-43 Tur on the enemy team, because if he hadn't, then the tier 7 Italian medium tank would have most likely been able to spot him out. Alright, so Hell's Revenge is taking a look for where the Stura Mill was last spotted, but interestingly enough, it looks like he has a very fortunate situation, and that is that he clips a little bit of vision on the Stura Mill without getting spotted, and so he's going to be able to ambush the Sturmil. And because the Sturmil's sixth sense went off, it's quite likely that he's going to think that the IS-3 is maybe up here and he'll be aiming that way, and so that should allow Hell's Revenge to get an ambush shot off. But he's going to have to watch out. Where's the Sturmil? Sturmil looking completely in the opposite direction. And a long bit of aiming time later, and kablam, Sturmil taken care of. And just in case the artillery's up there, you ready to go, right, Hell's Revenge? Oh man, this is where I'm a bit nervous, because you know the artillery shells are coming. After you've been camping behind the rock for long enough, you know that here's where the artillery are coming. And it's funny that the artillery fire immediately after you've been unspotted, right? So good timing there by Hell's Revenge to have a good grasp on how long he would be spotted for from the residual spotting on the Sturmil on the enemy team, and now he's going to be able to focus his attention towards where these artillery are going to be. Alright, so 3 self-propelled guns. GW Tiger P is probably going to take 2 shells. GW Panther is going to take a single shell unless it's a low roll, so I'd probably fire my high explosive round at that. And the M12, probably going to be able to kill that with a standard shell or a high explosive shell as well. So I guess the most important thing for Hell's Revenge now is to make sure that these heat rounds are used against the GW Tiger Pig, or Tiger P, sorry. Whoa, bit of a slip there. Oh no, comment section is ruined now. And then the GW Panther on the enemy team in the M12, hopefully you can use those high explosive rounds against. Nevertheless, with 6 rounds remaining in his tank and 3 tanks on the enemy team, we'll have to see how Hell's Revenge is going to handle this situation. And bam! The Robzilla on the enemy team is shut down with 2 heat rounds to the superstructure. But now Hell's Revenge has a very awkward situation for this vehicle. 1 round of APCR, 1 round of heat, and 2 rounds of high explosive. And so he can't manage to load all of them into the tank at the same time. So he's actually going to reload high explosive rounds. But oh, shock horror, did not expect a GW Panther to be up there. So he's now caught completely out in the open. He needs to shoot at the upper part of the GW Panther to be able to finish him off, but he actually misses and he hits the tracks, and the GW Panther hits him in the back. Oh no, it's going to be a bit of a heartbreak if the M12 manages to hit him in the side. Oh, but luckily with the good reload, while unloaded, he's going to chance it. Oh no, oh, it's becoming a disaster at the end of the game. Hell's Revenge now has 2 shells to deal with, 2 tanks on the enemy team. He's going to have to make these ones count, but surely he's under a lot of pressure from the M12. Where is that M12 shell going to land? All right. Whoa, took the chance, didn't even fully aim it, but luckily it allowed him to plow forwards to be able to avoid the M12 shell from behind. All right, Hell's Revenge, having dodged the enemy artillery, he must be shaking right now, because look at him, all caps in chat. 1 shot left. All right, well, you better make it count, buddy. 1 is all you need, right? Okay, so the M12, it's funny enough, Hell's Revenge hasn't actually been splashed by him yet. So there's no way of him knowing exactly where the M12 is going to be. So he's looking up towards the north, but, you know, considering the M12 didn't fire for so long, I would think that the M12 was most likely around this corner, and that maybe he went round here to get the shot. Maybe that's why he took so long. Nevertheless, tense stuff right now. The VK4503 is already saying congrats to Hell's Revenge in the chat, but luckily, M12, hook, line, and sinker right out in the open, and will it hit? Tension, QuickyBaby, don't do it to us. Just unpause the replay. Let's see if it's actually going to hit or not. And yeah, it does. Right into the side of the M12, annihilating the final vehicle and securing Hell's Revenge 9th kill of the game. So Hell's Revenge takes down a plethora of medals here. The Fadens for destroying the final remaining vehicle with the final shell in your tank. The Kolobanov's medal for standing alone against at least 5 opponents. A Radley Walters medal for his 9 kills. A Dimitri's medal for vanquishing 3 enemy self-propelled guns, and a high caliber for over 7,000 damage dealt. And this was 2,213 base experience points, and even a steel wall to boot. When we think about it, this is probably one of the most heavily armored autoloaders in the game. And as it is, a premium vehicle, mother of credits. Okay, so this clearly is from some kind of credit booster, and this is probably from the holiday event. 415,000, 332,000 credits profit. It's 1/3 of a million credits in a single game, ladies and gents, even after resupplying heat. Outrageous. So, Hell's Revenge, thank you so much for uploading your replay on the WOT Replays website and also putting my name in the title to get my attention. And yeah, look, ladies and gents, even Hell's Revenge recognizes the IS-3A is broken, but it was still an amazing game. And you're right, it was. It was tense right until the finish, which is why it was my pleasure to feature it. So thanks very much, Hell's Revenge, and congratulations to you, bud. So now that the IS-3A has been out for a couple of weeks, has my opinion about the whole events changed? Well, no, not really. I thought the vehicle was fine before. Didn't really need the auto reloader, and if they did want to add the auto reloader, it should have had the Italian mechanics, or if you want to have this inverse auto reloader, it needed to be nerfed in other ways. The tank is clearly overperforming on the server, and it's disgusting that the only way that you can be able to get this tank is to gamble in loot crates. And as I mentioned, I have opened up 205 myself, and I did not get a single IS-3A, ladies and gents, and so I've warned you, don't do it. Anyway, that's it for today. Hopefully you've enjoyed this video. If you did, give it a thumbs up, but if you hated it, give it a thumbs down. And let me know in the comments down below what your opinions are of the IS-3A now it's been out for a couple of weeks. Did you manage to get one yourself? Did you see them out on the battlefield doing very well? Or did you see them out on the battlefield doing really badly? Does it surprise you that there are now 55,000 more of these tanks that have played on the European server in the last couple of weeks? What do you think about 5 million loot crates sold in 2 weeks? I don't know. When it's kind of getting hard to blame wargaming if there are people out there buying them, or maybe it's not. Maybe they are preying on their customers a little bit. Anyway, thank you as always, and hopefully I'll see you soon.